Hello students, I hope you had time to play a few games since the last time we met. I hope that you've been practicing what we learned last time, you're categorizing your moves. Today we're just going to take a moment to analyze a miniature game. Miniature games are just short games. They're typically less than 20 moves. And the reason why I wanted to review this game is because even though it's short, I think we can learn a lot from this game. And to be honest, that's exactly what you should be doing at this point in your career. You should be reading as many chess books as you can. If you could find any chess games online or any magazine, go over it. If there's someone playing chess and you could watch a video, look at it. Because it's not only about you practicing and playing, it's also about seeing how other people play and learning as much as we can from them. So digest any chess information that you can, and trust me, your game is going to improve. So the first move for the white pieces was pawn to e4, and this is one of the most popular moves to start because it is not only controlling the center, and we have already talked about how important it is to control the center of the board, but it also opens up the bishop and the queen to come out. So after pawn to e4, the black pieces did the same thing, and look at this, they did a neutral move, and you should know by now that we should reply with an attacking move or a move that prepares an attack. So in this game, they decided to do knight f3. So this is clearly an attacking move, and we're putting pressure on that pawn that is not defended. So now the black pieces should reply to the attacking move with a defensive move for the most part. So in this game, they decided to do knight to c6, so it's defending this pawn on e5. Now I'm not going to take, of course, because I take a pawn and they capture my knight. So they decided to continue with bishop c4. So they're already developing the bishop, putting pressure on f7, and the black pieces went bishop c5. Now, at this point, the white pieces did a very interesting move, and this is called a gambit. We're going to have a class later on gambits, but so that you know, gambits are pawn sacrifices that you do in the opening to basically get ahead in development and try to attack your opponent as quickly as possible. So this is the move that they did. They sacrificed a pawn from the side because that's going to allow them to prepare an attack at the expense of their opponent's pieces. And you see what I mean. So after b4, this is a move that is an aggressive move, but as you can see, this pawn is not defended. So that means the bishop could take it for free, the knight could take it for free. So after the black pieces took, and by the way, this gambit, the sacrifice of a pawn could be accepted, like they did in this game, or it could be declined. If the black pieces wanted, they could have just put the bishop back and nothing happened. But they took the pawn for free, and now you're going to see what the white pieces had in mind. Before, if they wanted to break the center, they wanted to push this pawn to attack, it was not going to be possible. They only had two defenders, the knight and the queen, and the black pieces had 1, 2, 3 attackers. So putting this pawn on d4 was just a bad move. So they needed something like another defender like this pawn to be able to do that. And that's exactly what they're going after. So they went pawn to b4, and now since the bishop is here, they're going to attack it, and this is going to bring that helper that they needed to break the center. Now, why is it that they want to break the center so much? Well, if they open up the center and they have enough pieces developed, they will be able to get to this king. So after pawn to c3, the bishop is being attacked again. So notice how many moves the white pieces have done at the expense of this bishop. So after c3, the bishop went back to c5. Now the white pieces said, okay, I want to open up the center to attack this king, but that could backfire if my king's still in the center. So they castled. And this is another principle that we have talked about. We haven't officially talked about the principles of the opening, but we know we need to control the center, we need to develop your knights and bishops, and we need to put our king in safety, and we do that by castling. So the white piece is castled, then pawn to d6, and now a very interesting move comes in, queen to b3. Those of you who have been following this program, you should know that we call this a battery. So we have two pieces lined up. The bishop is attacking f7, but now he has a backup. He has the queen behind it. So This is an attacking move, and the black pieces should reply with a defensive move. They went queen e7. Now they have two defenders on that pawn. But then the white pieces finally are going to strike the center. And now I want you to pay attention to a very important detail. We talked about how this king is in the center, and whenever that's the case, you have developed enough pieces, your king is safe, you should open up lines towards that king. And by lines, I mean you need to open up files, you need to open up diagonals. If these pawns were in here, then we could already put the rook on this file, and the rook would be attacking the queen and the king and so on. So that's the objective now. We want to remove this pawn, and we're going to do it by attacking it with one of our pawns. So pawn to d4, I'm attacking the bishop, I'm attacking the pawn. So they took, and now we took right back with another pawn, and you're going to see how the black pieces simply moved to b6. So at this point, we removed one of the pawns that was on this file. We just need to remove our own pawn. That's pretty easy. This is our pawn, so we decide what to do with it. And we could easily just push him to e5. Now, you're going to see how this move is so important. Once this pawn is out of the way, well, we have this file open, but there's another line that we're trying to open, and you'll see what it is. So after e5, the black pieces took, and now notice how we opened this diagonal as well. So this is a dark square diagonal, so we're going to use our dark square bishop. So bishop a3, not only am I attacking the queen, and I know they're going to move the queen away, but the main objective of this move is to put more pressure on the king, and at the same time when the queen moves, this king would not be able to castle because he cannot go through check. So after bishop a3, the queen went to d8, and look at this. At this point we have two bishops and a queen aiming at the center where the king is, plus this rook could potentially come over and attack the king if this pawn ever leaves that file. So at this point it's white to move, and there is checkmate in two moves forced. So I want you to pause the video and try to look for it. So you're going to make a move, and regardless of what the black pieces reply, you're going to continue with the checkmate after that. So like we always say, in situations like this, we have to be looking at checks. Forget about checkmate, just look at checks, and then you go from there. So the only check that I see at the moment is bishop takes f7, then the king has to move. He cannot go here or here because of the dark square bishop. He needs to go to d7. And at that point, we have checkmate in one move. So I hope you saw that second move with the queen. So bishop f7 check, king d7, and now there are two ways to deliver checkmate. You could go queen d5, check, no one can block the check, and the king cannot go anywhere. And you could also have done what they did in the game, which is bringing the queen all the way to e6. The queen is so close to the king, but it's safe because we have a helper. And now not only is the queen attacking the king, but she's also controlling all of these squares. So checkmate. Again, guys, the main highlight from this game is how from the very beginning the white pieces were developing their pieces quickly, but then they put their king in safety, and quickly they started to find ways to attack their opponent's king. So they strike the center, they open up lines, and this is really important. Don't forget that the main objective in the chess game is to get to your opponent's king and put him in checkmate. So at this point, they opened this diagonal, the bishop came in, and it proved to be really helpful afterwards. So bishop f7, it forced the king to go to d7, and then we have the checkmate. So here we go, guys. This was just a quick lesson to sort of summarize everything, make sure that we are understanding the different concepts. And now the next step, the next lesson we will have, we're going to start working hard on tactics. We're going to start going over the different tactical patterns that we need to learn. So I'll see you next time.